Good morning, everybody. Very disappointed for Ray. He's one of our best players and a great young guy, and he decided to come back and just an injury that will keep him out. He'll have to have an operation, I think, Jeremy, right? So he will not be involved on the field. He'll stay like British and try to help us, but we've had some tough injuries this year, and he's such a great player and a tremendous leader for us. And we will miss him. It'll hurt our team, but more than that, we hurt for him, because that's a tough one for a senior that came back to obviously help his team and have a better chance to play in the NFL. So he'll get his operation, he'll rehab and try to get ready for pro day, and that's where he's headed. I do want to compliment the Duke team and Coach Elko. They played a great game. I thought Kevin John's game plan was really good offensively. And Riley Leonard is really good. So I think he's a name that people better keep watching, because we thought he was good going into the game, but he played even better than we had seen him play previously. And you got to give the Duke crowd a shout out too, because they were good. They were loud. I thought the fan experience was good. The game was the environment was tough, a tough road environment. So Coach Elko has it going, and those guys did a great job. And it's just another one of those games that came down to the end. But they're going to win a lot of games over there because they're doing a good job. I think the biggest difference too is Riley Leonard. He's where it all begins. This team I'm very proud of. They're bowl eligible after 7 games. Already won as many games as we did last year in 13. 6-1 for the second time since 1997. 4-0 in road games for the first time since 2016, and we didn't win a road game last year. So very proud of these guys. They've accomplished a lot, and have a tough 5-game stretch here to finish. But should be exciting challenges for us, and this week comes at a good time so we can get healthy and get some energy back. And guys that, like, when you lose a guy like Ray, you got to have somebody to play in his place, so it helps you. Some had asked Jeremy about Jaquarius Conley. He's practicing. He hadn't practiced at all until last week, so you can't just go from a severe knee operation and then not practicing at all and then jump in and play. So we're looking at him. He's on some backup special teams, and hopefully in the next 2 weeks he'll be able to get involved more in special teams, and then hopefully we can have him ready to play. And just not really sure right now when that will be. Offensively, we thought we ran the ball pretty well, but we also threw 7 receptions to the backs and did a good job getting on the perimeter. And those flare passes are like runs, so that would have added to our running attack. Thought we still need to do a better job on first downs. We still come up 3rd and long too much. So we've got to be more consistent in that area. 9 different receivers caught passes, and that's a great credit to the offensive line and for Drake, that he doesn't lock into somebody and he finds the open guy. And I think it's why we've been so good on 3rd and 4th down, because he can go from one to the other. We were excellent in 1-minute offense right before the half, and really good time management to take 2 timeouts and save some time and have 1 left in our pocket. And at the end of the game, there's about 2 minutes left, and not only were we able to take it down and score, but also only leave 16 seconds on the clock. And Duke was smart; they had 3 timeouts left, so it really gave them a chance to get down and kick it a field goal. But really, really proud of the 2 drives that I felt like were the difference in the ball game. We got to do a better job with Drake with ball security. We've had 1 come out or 2 each week, and we can't continue to do that. as good as he's playing, that's an area that he can really improve. And we haven't had an issue with delay of game to start a series. You can't do that. And it seemed like they were starting the clock quicker than normal, but that's on us. So we've got to do a better job of getting out. You can't have two series that you're 1st and 15. It's too hard to get yards to do that. Very, very proud of the red zone touchdowns. We had 5 out of 6. I was disappointed in the first one. We hit the big play to Antoine Green, the first play of the game. We get down and have to kick it a field goal and make the field goal, but you've got to score touchdowns now. If you look at it, people are struggling on defense all over the country. There just aren't a lot of people that are stopping people. So you have got to score touchdowns to win games. You cannot just kick field goals. So, but 5 out of 6 in touchdowns is really, really good. But we've also got to take care of the situation and respond better during the game when things come up. We're up by 10, and our defense stops Duke on a 4th and 2 at the plus 31. So we've got to get points. And that's the worst series we had. It was very similar to the second series after the deep pass. Those were the 2 worst series that we had during the ball game. And there's been a lot of talk about Coach Longo calling trick play at that point. If it works, we're all talking about he's a genius, and if it doesn't, it was really stupid. It didn't, so we shouldn't have done it. I'll agree with you all that we shouldn't have done it since it didn't work. I do think that he called a brilliant game, and throughout the night he did a really good job. That series and the first series were the 2 worst ones that we had. Defensively, we gave up too many explosives. We had poor tackling, we had poor angles. It's really interesting, and this is a stat that we came up with after looking at the game. 42 carries for 297 yards rushing when they were averaging 200. So that's basically 100 more. 32 of those runs were for 93 yards. So they averaged 2.9 yards per carry on 32 of those carries. 9 plays, explosive plays, were for 206 yards, and they averaged 22.9 per carry. Now the quarterback on a 2nd and 24 with a 2 deep coverage goes 74 yards for a touchdown. You absolutely cannot let that happen. They also have an inside zone, very much like Notre Dame last year, that cuts all the way back behind our jack position, and we miss tackles, and he goes 38 yards. So there's 100 right there. So we got to figure out why we keep being so inconsistent on defense. We start the second half and we make them punt twice and stop them on 4th down. And offensively, we said we didn't step up at that time. So there's too much inconsistency. We're not sure why. We can see it. It's a different player all the time. It's a different issue all the time. And we've just got to keep working, because at times we're playing really good defense. It's just we're not playing consistently on defense. And as I said, it's not our problem that everybody else is having the same problem. But when Alabama and Tennessee is a 52-49 game, there's a lot of points being scored out there. Also defensively, we did have 6 pass breakups, and if you let them do both equally, run and pass, they've got the whole playbook. So you got to stop something. At Miami, they threw it for a bunch, but it was one-dimensional, and it's hard to beat you being one-dimensional. In this game, they had their whole playbook. They could do whatever, so you can't get sacks if they're running the ball and playing using play action passage. You're like Notre Dame, you're on your heels, and you're trying to figure out how to stop the run enough that you can't get to the passer. And we didn't have sacks. We had 1, I think, and we didn't have tackles for loss. But also, we have been opportunistic on defense. We're playing very well on 3rd and 4th downs. They were 4 and 9 on 3rd downs, and they have a lot of short 3rd downs. So I was proud of our defense in that area. And they stopped 2 4th downs, 1 on the goal line and 1 at the 31-yard line that should have led to points. And the first one sure led to change of field position. the offense didn't get points off of the stop, but they took it to the other end. And then Noah Taylor making the great tip at the end of the game, and the interception by Will Hardy, the freshman, to close the game out. And we could have had another interception with Tony Grimes. So we've got to make those plays when we have them, and get ourselves in position. Special teams, Ben Kiernan had a tremendous punt, and we covered it very well to change field position. And then this game, that was critical. Noah Burnett was 1 for 2 in field goals and did a great job kicking off. His 52-yard field goal is probably just out of his range, but we didn't want to punt. We didn't want to go for 4th and 14, so that was our best chance. And again, the clock started really fast, so we had to run him out there quickly and get it going. But that was the series that we messed up. Offensive players of the game were Antoine Green and Josh Downs. They both played outstanding. I think Josh had 11 targets and 9 catches. So those two guys were really amazing. Contributors at a really high level: Drake May, Caleb Hood, Elijah Green. We're so proud of him stepping in and stepping up and doing the things that he needed to do. And he's got such a great attitude. He's got a smaller cast on his thumb now, so hopefully he can play more, because we've been worried about ball security. And Awesome Richards and Spencer Rolland both had outstanding games in the offensive line. Defensive player of the game was Noah Taylor, and we're really, really proud of Noah. He continues to lead, and he keeps showing up. Guys that played really, really well, Javari Ritzie, he saved a touchdown with a back on another run that was going to squirt, and we'd have to run him down, and he was fast. So Javari made an outstanding play. DeAndre Boykins continues to play at a really high level. We're proud of him. Des Evans is playing lights out. He's playing so good. He's at a point right now where he's playing the most consistent that he's played since he's been here. And he's really living up to all the hype and recruiting that he had. So I'm really, really proud of him, because we've been pushing him about consistency. And then Cedric Gray. Cedric Gray could be your most valuable player of a week. He's all over the field and a leader and playing really, really well. So for the next 2 weeks, for this week, we'll go back and reevaluate the last 4 games. Our schedule sets up perfectly for us, where we could self-evaluate the first 3. Now we can go back and look at personnel. We can look at every explosive play. We can look at sacks. We can look at tackles for loss. Anything we're not doing well, we can go back and try to figure out what it is and what we can do to change it. Why is it happening? And how can we get more consistency? The other thing this week is important is roster management. You start looking at who's going to transfer. You start looking at who's going to go to the NFL. And you're signing guys, and you're looking at transfer portal. So with the transfer portal, roster management is different than it's ever been. So trying to win the last 5 games, but also trying to find out what's going to happen with young guys going forward is very difficult to do. So we've got to ask them, if you're not playing very much and you don't see a chance to play, are you planning on transferring? Because we need to know, because we can look for someone in the transfer portal to take your place. We got really thin at receiver last year, and Lonnie did a great job of catching us up. We're really thin at linebacker right now. So we can't get caught thin with guys that are transferring. So this week is very, very important. Somebody mentioned after the game too that we had been very poor after open dates. So I had Jeremy go back and look at that just so we'd all be on the same page. We have had 5 losses and 1 win after open dates. 3 of those losses were Notre Dame, and they played better than we did. The 2 other losses were at Virginia Tech with a 6 overtime the first year, and at Pitt with the overtime in the first year. And we did have a win at Boston College. I think we had 2 weeks off actually during the COVID year. So So those were all tough games. We had a chance to win them. I think what we're doing and the open date is fair and good. We just got to play better. Question. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. The special teams player of the game was Will Hardy. He was all over the place and did a tremendous job. And contributors at a very high level, Noah Burnett and Ben Kiernan. Both of them did a good job. And right now, Ben's also doing the backup kicking for us. So if something happened to Noah on a kickoff and he came out, Ben would be the guy to go in and kick. Questions?
All right. First question this morning will come from Dina King. Go ahead, Dina.
Hey, Coach. On the recruiting trail, you got 20 commits. How do you feel with your class right now? And with the open week, will you guys be really focusing on watching those guys and the 24 kids?
Dina, we feel really good. We've got a lot of good players, and there's not as many 5-stars as we've had. We've had a couple in the past, and but we feel good about who we've got. They fit here at a time where you've got so much transfer portal action, at a time where NIL is, everybody's trying to figure out what that means. Our coaches have done an amazing job of recruiting the right people and the kids that fit here. And it seems like right now that they're all in good shape. We're winning. They're excited about the future. And so I feel good about it. And yes, this weekend, all of our coaches will be out all over the place. So this is a huge recruiting weekend for us. And congratulations that your sister joins you in the Hall of Fame at Starmount. So good for you. That's
Thank
pretty
you,
cool.
Coach. Thank
That's
you,
cool.
Coach.
Cool for the family.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, let's go over to Luciano.
Hey, Coach. I hope you're doing well, and thanks for your time. You have talked a lot about the importance of running better on first downs, and the team looked better at that on Saturday. How would you evaluate that aspect of your offense right now, and where would you say there is still room for improvement?
Luciano, I thought they did a better job on first downs, and part of that were the perimeter plays. We were just running up inside and not making any yards. So I thought the option helped, the flares helped, getting the backs on the corner helped. And we did an outstanding job with blocking on the perimeter. So give the offensive staff credit for keep looking at different ways to change some things and get in the right place. The thing we've got to do better is we had 3 sacks. And again, that's running back, tight end was one. It's not all offensive line for sure. But Pittsburgh does a tremendous job of rushing the passer. So we've got to make sure that we do a better job next week with that. And I thought the other thing is just the 2 series that we had that were really bad. And I know that's nitpicking because we want our offense to score every series, but you cannot get the ball on the 31-yard line with a 10-point lead and not get some points. I mean, you had to kick a field goal or you had to score a touchdown. We could have kicked the field goal on first down, and we end up losing enough yards that we can't kick. So the disappointing first drive after the deep pass that we had to kick a field goal, and then the disappointment after the stop on 4th and 2, which was a huge momentum boost for us, and we didn't take advantage of it, were the disappointing things. And obviously the turnovers. We can't leave the ball in on the ground because that's a short field in both cases. And those end up being 14-point swings, and everybody's cussing the defense, and you got a chance to stop them, but you can't leave the ball on your end of the field with turnovers.
Ross Martin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned Elijah Green. I thought he looked very quick, very fast, and it's the first time we've seen him really since the Florida A&M game. Your thoughts on him kind of stepping into a role and getting more time, and if you see him being a factor in the run game moving forward?
Yeah, Ross, it's facts, and it's a great question because he did look good. He looked fast. He was downhill. He protected the ball. He had one issue with pass protection, but he hadn't played a lot. So, and he's been on the show team, the scout team a lot. as a running back during the year because he's a brilliant student in the business school. He's a great young person. He'll do anything you ask at any time. So I was really, really proud of him because he has been patient and earned the right to get out there. When you look at it, and Caleb is in and out of being banged up, Caleb Hood, and then DJ Jones is in and out of being banged up. So I think right now it's amazing that we've played 7 games and we're still not really settled at running back, and we thought we would have been. But the way he looked on Saturday night, I would think that he would have to continue to be in the mix. We were in shorts today. We'll be in pads tomorrow, and he'll get a good look. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for us, but he sure worked hard and earned the right.
Tommy Ashley, go ahead.
Coach, you obviously with the injury to Reva Hasek, and you mentioned Caleb Hood being banged up, DJ Jones. Are you where you are depth-wise that you wanted or expected to be at this point in the season, as far as number of guys that are able to contribute at defensive line and other positions?
Tommy, we really are. The only place that we're not, in my opinion, is the offensive line. You see Kobe Paceauer jumped in there the other night and he took 17 plays and got 2 catches, and he and Gavin Blackwell are going to be really good. And they do a good job of jumping in. We just talked about the running backs. George Pettaway is really good. And we're sitting here trying to figure out where does George get in because he's so talented. Quarterback room is loaded. So we've got players except at linebacker and except at the offensive line right now where guys just haven't stepped up. And one of the problems there, Tommy, is it's harder to play young guys there. That's the hardest position for a young guy to play, in my opinion. So it takes them longer. We talked to the young ones about being patient. But in our first year, I remember we played Aaron Crawford 98 plays in the 6 overtime against Virginia Tech. And now we're playing defensive linemen 30 plays. So it does make a difference. The recruiting has stepped up. Well, there's a bunch of young ones still need to play better, and they will. But really proud of our depth. You lose British Brooks, you lose Caleb Hood for a game, you lose DJ Jones for a game, and you still got backs. You lose Josh Downs for 3 weeks, and you lose Antoine Green for 4, and you still got receivers. So our coaches have really done a good job of making sure that we've got quality depth.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Tommy.
CL Brown, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, I was curious, last year you kind of talked about the accolades being given to that team with the preseason ranking and everything, and to a much lesser extent, Sam and potential Heisman. But this team seems to kind of be earning its way in. You guys just cracked the top 25 of the poll. Drake May wasn't on the national radar earlier in the year. A lot more people. He's in a lot more conversations now. I was just curious how different this is for you. Like, how do you appreciate how this team is kind of, earning its way along in this season?
CL, I like it a lot better. I said last year we weren't as good as the hype, and I saw it and I watched it every day, and nobody wanted to hear it. They just thought it was coach speak, and it was really true. And this team has got a lot of things we've got to fix, but the difference for them, other than last year's team, is they're winning on the road. We were 0-6 on the road last year, and we've already won 4 road games. The difference in them is they're learning how to win close games. And with the parity out there right now in college football, the teams that win close games are the ones that end up being the best teams, because it's going to happen every week, and more than I've ever seen in my career. And this team seems to be doing that. I told them this morning at our 6:30 meeting that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the way you fight. I'm proud of the way that you continue to not give up. And they've had tremendous effort each week, but you've got to respond better. You've got to respond when you get the ball inside the 20-yard line and you're on offense. You got to respond after a 4th and 2. You don't put people away. And we've got to do a better job of that. Since we've been here on defense, we've given up too many explosive plays. And it's week after week after week. And we got to quit doing that to be a great team. So I told them we're a good team. We've got 5 hard games left. I told them that I don't even look at the polls until the college football poll comes out the 1st of November. It means absolutely nothing. May not mean a lot then. I said, don't look at where your standings are in the Coastal, because you got 5 hard games left and you got to win them all. So don't start checking those boxes. Just play. Keep your head down. Figure out why we're giving up too many explosives on defense. Figure out why we're turning the ball over, why we're having some sacks on offense, and let's make a difference in special teams. And let's step up and make this season special. Let's don't make it good. Let's make it special. And we've got a chance to do that, but we can't keep living on the edge. We've got to improve quickly in some areas.
And just as a follow-up to putting teams away, because I kind of felt like Saturday was different than, being up at App State 41-21 and even the Georgia State game. But is there one thing you would kind of point at to say this is what we're not doing in those situations to, extend leads and put teams away?
Yes, and go back to even Appalachian State. I may not get the time right, but Sid Gray intercepts the ball and we settle for a field goal. And the ball's down around the 30-yard line, maybe even closer. And then when we come back and Drake fumbles and they get it and momentum completely flips. So that's a sequence of time there where we needed to score 7 and we didn't need to give it back to them. Saturday night, I thought it was 100% at the 4th and 2, because when you go for a 4th and 2 at your 31, you got to make it because it's points. And when you don't take advantage of that offensively, it gives the momentum twofold back to Duke. And if we'd gone up 17, they're not a passing team. They're a balanced run, play action. And if you get them down 17, then it limits some of the playbook going into the 4th quarter. And then you have a chance to get some sacks and get some tips and get some interceptions. And we didn't do that. That was huge. The other part that was disappointing for me is 6 minutes and 32, let's say, seconds left. They've got the ball. They've got a lead. We've got to stop them, and they drive down the field and kill the clock. And if we weren't so good at 1-minute offense, we could have run out of time. And then the defense did get a stop, and then they did miss a field goal because I was fully anticipating with them keeping the ball and moving it that it would probably be an overtime game. If they kick the field goal and we go score, it's an overtime game. If not, we got to score fast and onside kick. So you're thinking of all those scenarios, but that's what I was thinking. Go get them in a position where they have to change who they are offensively. And we never did that. We let them keep being who they are, and they were really good at it.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Andrew Jones, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, going back to what you were talking about with the defense, how the explosives were so damaging. There's an inconsistency that you're obviously talking about, but it's not just play to play. There are periods where the defense is really good in the stretch, like the 3rd quarter. And then when things kind of go bad, they just spiral for a while. What is the challenge with the staff in getting those spirals to stop sooner and getting the guys to play a little bit more consistently?
Andrew, it's we're pulling our hair out because you're exactly right. And we had long conversations again Sunday and Monday, and met with them today, and we're pulling out every play where we're inconsistent and then showing that pattern of you can't let one bad play lead to another. And we're doing that. And you can't. Good teams can't do that. So we're talking about looking at personnel. We're talking about better angles, and practice today was go back and check every pursuit angle that you've got. Go back and put yourself in a better position to tackle. We can't keep missing tackles. And I took a sequence of plays, the quarterback draw, and we were in a 2 deep shell. And I said, we've got 11 really good players. And this is a simple defense. And they're second and 24. You tell me how somebody on that field couldn't make that tackle. You tell me. Come on. And I ran it over and over and over again. I showed the third down and 6 or 2, the 38-yard run. I said, we're in perfect position here. We're in gap control. They didn't knock us off the ball. It's just like the Notre Dame play last year. Why does he bounce out the back and we can't make that tackle? Why do we lose the edge? Why do we not be in a position to tackle? And then 2 plays ago, you did. So where's the disconnect? And that's what we've got to figure out. There's a third down and 10 at the -12. And we've got a spy on him. And Leonard rolls out to the left, and Noah's right in his face, and they have a comeback on DeAndre Boykins. They hit it for 12 yards for a first down. That's points. Those are points. And sometimes it seems like we've just got to get football smarter. We got to understand when you've got to make plays. And that's what I think we're missing sometime, Andrew, is this is the time you have to make a stop. The 4th and 2 on the goal line, they know. The 4th and 2 on the 31, they know. They're playing in those situations, and they're making good plays. 2nd and 24, that's at best a punt, maybe a turnover. Put them in 3rd and 12, and then you've got a chance for a sack. You got a chance for an interception. Those are the things we're not doing that we've got to do. They're finding ways to win. They're not giving up. They're being really positive, and that's huge. But for us to get where we need to go defensively, we cannot keep giving up so many explosive plays. And it seems like we do it every week. And we come out the second half, a punt, a 4th down stop. And I think, good, we're playing defense, man. And then we mess up offensively, which would have been a chance to continue the momentum on defense. But when we have the long field goal and we miss it, then they start right back at us, and we don't stop them for a while. And that's, we're not playing well as a team sometimes.
On a different topic, you mentioned the timing, some of the timing issues. The clock was starting soon. If you have an issue with timing, do you follow the same protocol, sending that to the league as you do actual calls on the field? And do you ever hear back from the league about timing issues?
Well, I didn't, because Duke didn't have issues. So if I'm the supervisor, I say one team didn't have issues, so why did you? Normally the officials will kind of watch, and they'll wait till you start before they start the clock. This one obviously didn't, and therefore it's our fault. So I addressed that this morning in the meeting as well, as we can't start 1st and 15 twice. And how can you leave the boundary? And so we've either got to go faster, coaches have to get them out there quicker, or when we get out there, we got to go. And I mean, I was like Drake and Phil. I thought it happened really fast, and it hasn't happened all year. So, but we'll just, I'm going to talk to the officials about it next week before we play Pittsburgh, and make sure how they're going to call it. They're human beings, and all of them call it differently. And this guy obviously started it sooner than all the other officials have started it throughout the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Coe, go ahead.
Mac, you've talked multiple times this year about some of the things this team is doing differently than last year's team, practicing harder, playing to the standard you want most of the time. Is there anything differently you've been doing this year deliberately from last season that you sought to change?
Absolutely, Michael. First, we've talked a lot more about leadership. We talked about it last year. They weren't listening. But we did a better job with talking to them about being a player-led team this year, because they're actually doing it, and they're doing it at a much higher level. We've had fewer sacks. We're scoring a lot more touchdowns in the red zone than we did before, and that was a huge emphasis for us. We're doing a better job on third down. We're starting to make some progress on first down. So offensively, we're much more consistent than we were last year. Defensively, at times we see who we want to be, because for us to get where we want to go, we have to be a dominant defense, and we haven't been. But they're trying, and I've told the guys, and I don't want to beat up last year's team. We had some great games last year, and we had some great players last year. We weren't consistent. And right now, this team is consistent with their effort. We're not consistent with our play on defense, but they have tried every day in practice, and they have tried in every game, and that's my job. And I did not feel like I did a good job in that area last year. And I felt it in the spring, and for whatever reason, many years as I've been coaching, I couldn't get them. They just wouldn't listen. And therefore you come and beat Virginia badly and then go stink at Georgia Tech. I mean, it's just, and every time I thought last year's team, okay, we're better. We're going to make it. And just next week, you never knew who was going to show up. I do feel like I know that for the next 5 weeks, this team's going to play hard. And that's my job. And that's the key. We're still human beings, and we've got to fix it. But if they practice hard every day with confidence, then usually they play hard. And that's what I like so much about this team.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Michael.
Aaron Beard, go ahead.
Hey, Mac, usually when you're in an open date, you start figuring out what your quarterback can and can't do. If they're a young guy, you maybe take some things away. If they're an experienced guy, maybe, I don't know, you add things. Drake has done everything so well. So I guess I'm curious how you handle that with a guy that is already been in the program for a while, has done well, and is showing the versatility to run and pass and do so many different things for your offense.
Aaron, it's a great point with him. He's so hard on himself, and he's so competitive. You have to be careful when you talk to him about anything, because he's already beaten himself up. So we've talked a lot about the turnovers, the fumbles. They're not interceptions. And at the same time, he's doing a much better job of sliding, stepping out of bounds, getting down. So he's made a lot of progress in that area, which we were concerned about from an injury standpoint. And then we talked to him some about he leaves the pocket early some. Usually when he does, he hits somebody. I mean, he completes the pass. So I think it's just there's the learning curve for him too. But there's a small window. He is playing so good. And that's what I've told our team. When you have you had a guy like Sam, and sometimes we missed it last year because we should have rallied around him better, and that team should have played better. When you got a guy like Drake, man, it gives you a chance every week. So help him defense, help him offense, make some plays, protect better, do everything you need to do. But I'm so proud of him. And somebody asked a few weeks ago, which was a fair question, how's he handling all the stuff? He's hard on himself. He doesn't even know the stuff's out there, I don't think. That's just his makeup and who he is, and he never talks about it. And I didn't even realize Jeremy told me he's been player of the week about every week, and I hadn't even noticed it. because I don't look at those things, and we don't talk about them in team meetings, because he wouldn't be the player of the week unless the guys were playing really well around him. And I'm really proud, Aaron, of our receivers. They're really playing well. Lonnie's done a tremendous job. Last year we were inconsistent, up and down, and this year the receivers have really helped Drake. That catch that Josh Downs made in front of me was one of the best catches I've ever seen. That thing was out of bounds, and I was right there, so I knew he caught it. But I mean, he gets the foot down and stretches his body and makes an unbelievable catch, being aware of where he is. The fourth down at the end, the 4th and 4, I think, he runs an amazing route where he goes in and back out, and Drake's so accurate that's why we've been so good on 4th down. So it's fun for me to watch him. I stood out there and watched him today. He completed about every pass. I mean, it's he's just he's the same every day, and he competes. And he has helped our offense with his leadership. And he'll do things sometimes. It's really amazing to me at his age. He'll call Coach Warren over and say, "Here's what I saw with that blitz during practice. What was that? Why'd you do that? But here's what I think, and I thought it was good. But I want to know the concept. I want to know why you did it. So if I see it during the game." And young guys don't do that. So he's mature beyond his years.
All right, let's go to Adam Smith.
Hey, Mac, just trying to catch up with you there. Well, you mentioned the 2nd and 24 that Leonard broke. Didn't Miles Murphy have? Didn't Miles Murphy have him?
You know, Adam, when you look at it, it looks like everybody had him. I mean, there's angles and they're there, and I kept thinking, good. I mean, it's going to be 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 18 or something, and he's strong, he's really fast, and you've got to make a really good tackle. You can't grab him, and I give him credit for that, but we just can't do that.
Well, what I was going to ask you was, you mentioned in the opening about J.Q. Conley and that he is coming off major knee surgery. Like, I mean, it sounded like you almost had a cautious tone there to the way you were telling us. Is that something you're having to talk to him about? Is like, let's take it slow with this thing? Is that the approach you're taking with him, Mac?
Adam, it is, but I had 8 knee operations, and everybody responds differently, and his was really tough. So he's got to get back in practice like he did last week, and he's got to get knocked down. He's got to start and stop, and he's got to make sure that he can plant and push off. And it's our job to make sure he's totally confident in that leg, even if it's before we put him back out there, or he'll get something else hurt. So that's our biggest concern for him. Is we're working him back in, and I told the coaches, let's put him on some special teams too, where he starts and he gets out there, and special teams will be different. He can run, he can be in space, right. But when he goes and tackles that running back in the line of scrimmage as a safety, he's got to plant, he's got to go, he's got to stop, he's got to be physical. So we just want to make sure that he's confident that he's well. He's been released. So I do want to make sure everybody understands that. And he didn't practice a lot 2 weeks ago. He practiced more last week. And today he's getting more reps. So, and after every practice, we ask him, are you sore? Are you okay? Are you ready to take another step? So it's a slow process with him, but hopefully he'll be able to do some things in 2 weeks. And if not, I can see him playing some before the season's over.
Okay. So maybe not after the bye week then. Yeah.
I'm just not sure. I haven't been able, I just walked off the field, so I didn't watch him this morning. And we'll all watch him today, and then he'll be in pads tomorrow, which will help again for us to see. He'll be in some tackling drills. But it's kind of like when you got back with Antoine Green, I've been absolutely amazed at how well he's played. And we didn't know against Notre Dame if he was going to get hit and do this and come out of the game, and just don't know because you didn't want to hit him during practice and not get him to the game. So you got some of that with Aquarius. How much can you put him through in practice to make sure he's ready to go into the game without getting him hurt again?
Excellent, Mac. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Sammy Batten.
Yeah, Mac, I guess Caleb Hood was a pretty spectacular quarterback in high school. What was it about him that made you guys feel like he would be an exceptional running back at the college level?
Sammy, he competes so hard. And that's what I loved at Richmond County. And he was hard to tackle. He's really thick. He's got a thick lower body, and he's powerful. And he broke so many tackles as an option quarterback. And he stayed healthy. Our only deal, I think he's really good. Our only problem has been that he's been banged up, and it's been hard for him to stay on the field. But he can catch, he can block. I think he's 230 pounds. He runs really fast. He's got patience. He's got vision. He's got everything you need. And he's made an unbelievable transition from quarterback to tailback, because the question with most young tailbacks are blocking, because they run the ball so much, they don't pass protect much in high school. But then you go from a quarterback to a tailback. He never blocked, and he never took a snap. He never took a handoff. So it was so different for him, and he's made all those transitions. So I'm really proud of him. I feel for him that he gets banged up so much.
Yeah, how much of his dad's recruitment were you involved in?
I recruited his dad.
Yeah,
his dad was a really good player, and it was interesting. He was kind of like DeAndre Boykins, but when we were recruiting him, he was highly recruited, and people were trying to figure out, would he be a safety, would he be a linebacker, or would he be a running back? And some thought he might be an option type quarterback. And he called me like DeAndre called me, and DeAndre was a really good running back and also played corner. And DeAndre called and said, I'll come if you'll let me play defensive back. I said, sure, that's what you got. So I told Robert Gillespie, don't call him back. You're out. And Caleb was the same thing, but just the opposite. Caleb said, Coach, I'll come, but I want to play running back. I said, you got it. That's done. And he didn't even take any other visits because he wanted to be here. But you get like Caleb Hood with Arrow. You've grown up watching every North Carolina game in your whole life. And he's like Drake May. I mean, they should be here. They grew up wanting to be here. They grew up seeing themselves here. And that's why I'm so proud of what Caleb's accomplished as well.
Thanks, Mac.
And Sammy, he's played banged up. I mean, he's been sore some and played. So he's tough. I don't mean to insinuate that he is not tough, because he is. He's had some tough things come up.
Back over to Luciano.
Coach, how important is it to have 2 bye weeks in a season, especially leading up to a game against the defending conference champions?
Luciano, it's good and bad. It makes the season longer. So we started practice in July. So that makes this part of the season really, really long. And that's why we've got to change some of the way that we practice in open dates. Normally we would have been pads for 3 days. And now we were shorts this morning because we need to get them where that they get their soreness out. We need to make sure that they continue to keep their conditioning level up high. But you also need to give them a break. They can get mentally and physically worn out. And that's, we've been lucky, but I got home later from Duke than I did from Miami. So those are late nights, and those kids and you're so hyped as a player or a coach, you don't sleep. So you're just worn out. So that's where we've got to be smart with coaches and players. When you extend the season another week like we have, and you hope it's extended afterwards, and ours will be with a bowl game for sure, you got to make sure that you're rested.
Okay, over to Ross Martin.
Hey, Mac, with Ray out, who do you turn to for the interior defensive line? Obviously, Kevin Hester's played a lot there. I imagine we'll see more Travis Shaw. Just your thoughts on kind of filling that role at nose tackle for the remainder of the season.
Yes, what we've tried to do, Ross, is we've tried to keep Miles Murphy, who's been banged up all year, and Jabari Ritzie, who saved us the other night, as I said, with that tackle. But he played really well. We've tried to rotate those guys at the 3 technique. And then we had Ray and Kevin Hester, and Kevin played well the other night. We had them at alternating at nose. So Travis Shaw now is healthier. He will get in that rotation. And then you've got Kendrick Binkley Jones, who will play with Ritzie, and you've got Silver, who will play at the same time on the other side with Travis Shaw. So we've still got 6 rotators in there that we feel like can really help us. We've really missed Tamari Fox. He's so quick, and he plays a lot like Kamen Rucker. He's so strong, he's so low, he's so quick, and he penetrates. And he's worked every day on the scout team. And I hate it for him, but we'll have him back next year as well. But losing him and losing Ray, it's kind of what Tommy was talking about. Our depth is in a better position now than it was at all when we first got here, and poor Aaron Crawford would look at us and want out. We'd have to turn our head and act like we didn't see him. So we're better in that position than we've been.
All right, last question in the queue. Adam Smith, go ahead.
Mac, circling back to what you're talking about with the roster management on the bye week this time of year, mid-season. I mean, you obviously had the mid-season transfers kind of hit you last year. I know we're sitting here, on Tuesday, October 18th. Do you expect to be talking to us next week, telling us a couple guys have left the program? Is that something you're expecting?
Adam, I'm not. We might have somebody that would come in and say, I've played in 4 games. I don't want to play in a 5th. I think that's happening across the country. I don't anticipate that, but we could. And Pat Suddas, our general manager, checks every week to make sure the coaches know exactly who has played in the 4th and who has played in the 5th. And then the second part of that is that I didn't expect Jonathan Kim to come in. I mean, when he said he wanted to meet with me, I absolutely thought it would be 100 things other than I'm leaving. And when I walked in, he said it really caught me off guard, because he said, "Yeah, Coach, I'm on a red shirt and transfer." And I said, "What? You're going to do what?" So I was dumbfounded, because he was starting and he was the best in the country at what he was doing. So it could happen, and if it does, we'll just do what we've done, just tell you all the truth and move forward with it. But we're so honest with our guys, and I could have it come up because every coach is meeting with every player this week, and they're sitting down and asking exactly that. And I told them this morning, if you're not playing and your coach tells you that he doesn't see you playing a lot and you want to transfer, don't hide it. Don't be mad. Let's help you. We'll help you go where you want to go. And we'll get you video. We'll cut it up. We'll send it to them. And that's just the way this world's working now. But don't be mad. I'd rather you stay and get your degree before you leave, so you can get a North Carolina degree. It's what you came for. So if you can get your degree, do. But if your parents are upset and you're upset, don't get mad. Let's help you. Go somewhere else, and we don't want you here unless you're happy with what we're doing. And I've told them, though, there's a few things that are tough on head coaches for sure. One is that you hate to see a young man get in trouble, because it changes the direction of his life. Secondly, you hate to see somebody like Ray and British get hurt where they don't get to play. And British has got an extra year, Ray doesn't. So that's devastating. for us, but especially him. And we have to make sure we take care of his mental health, because that's a tough one to handle. The other one, guys, and this sounds kind of crazy, but you got 120 of them, and they're all working really hard, and they all think they're really good, and all the walk-ons want scholarships, and all the scholarship guys want to play. And at most, you're going to play 40 something players out of your 85 scholarship guys. And then we're thin enough in a couple of positions. We're putting some walk-ons in for sure on kick teams. But that's devastating for them too. You're working as hard as you can. You're doing everything right. You were highly recruited, or they're all highly recruited, or they wouldn't be here, and they're not playing. So that's a difficult thing for a head coach when you're sitting there trying to have team morale and especially when drug use and alcohol use is so high right now, and suicide rate is so high. So we're constantly working with the guys to have a different identity off the field than they have on the field. If you're not playing and you're giving us everything you've got, good for you. That's not your fault. Maybe we made a mistake in recruiting and you haven't lived up to that. That's our fault. That's not your fault. Just give us all you got. And if you don't like it, go somewhere else. But off the field, I told them after practice today, we want you to have more fun than anybody in college football. We want you to graduate. That's why you're here. We want you to win all the games, and we want you to be better prepared for life when you get out of here. So if you're not getting what you want on the field, let's at least get it off the field. And let's make sure that you can get yourself a good job and set your life up when you get through.
Great,
Thanks,
Coach. Thank you. Thank you so much, Coach, for your time this morning. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all, and have a great week. And I'll see you next Monday. Have a great weekend.